The Middle Ages, 500 to 1350. What are the characteristics of medieval times? Although the Middle Ages were shadowed by poverty, ignorance, economic chaos, bad government, and the plague, it was also a period of cultural and artistic achievement. For example, the university originated in medieval Europe. The first university was established in 1158 in Bologna, Italy. The period was marked by the belief based on the Christian faith that the universe is an ordered world ruled by an infinite and all knowing God. This belief persisted even through the turmoil of wars and social upheavals, and it is evident in the soaring Gothic architecture, such as the Cathedral of Chartres, France, the poetry of Dante Alighieri, 1265-1321, and the philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, the Gregorian chant and the music of such composers as Guillaume de Maquet, 1300 to 1377. Who were the Huns? The Huns were a nomadic Central Asian people who in the middle of the 4th century CE moved westward. They first defeated the Alani, a group in the Caucasus Mountain region between the Black and the Caspian Seas, and then conquered and drove out the Goths. Unified by the ruler Attila in 434, the Huns gained control of a large part of the Central and Eastern Europe by about 450. The Italian countryside was ravaged in the process, and many people sought refuge on the numerous islands in the lagoon of Venice. The settlement later became the city of Venice. With the death of Attila in 453, the subjects of the Huns revolted and defeated them. The Huns were later absorbed into the various peoples of Europe. Who were the barbarians? The term is used to refer to any of the Germanic tribes that during the middle of the first millennium CE, beginning about 400, repeatedly attacked Rome, eventually conquering it and dividing the territories of the West Roman Empire into many kingdoms, while what was the East Roman Empire survived as the Byzantine Empire. The Germanic tribes included the Goths, the Vandals, the Franks, and the Lombards. Who were the Goths? The Goths were a group of Germanic tribes who originated in what is now Scandinavia. As early as the 3rd century CE, the Goths invaded the eastern provinces of the Roman Empire. During the following century, they divided into two groups. A western group known as the Visigoths, who predominated north of the lower Danube River in Central Europe, and an eastern group known as the Ostrogoths, who were situated north of the Black Sea, between Europe and Asia. Along with other tribal Germanic peoples, the Goths brought the downfall of the Roman Empire. What happened to the Ostrogoths? The eastern division of the Goths, the Ostrogoths, were overrun and absorbed by the Huns in 370. When the powerful Hun leader Attila died in 453, subjects of the Huns revolted and the Ostrogoths regained their freedom. Theodoric, 454 to 526, became the ruler of the Ostrogoths in 493, and it was under his leadership that the group invaded northern Italy, where they remained. In the middle of the following century, they were overthrown by the armies of the Byzantine Empire. Like other Germanic tribes, the Ostrogoths were absorbed into the various groups of Europe. What happened to the Visigoths? When both the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths were attacked by the Huns in 370, the Visigoths fared better, many of them fleeing into a Roman province. In 378, the Visigoths rebelled against the Roman authorities. On horseback, they fought the Battle of Adrianople in present-day Turkey, destroying a Roman army and killing Rome's eastern emperor, Valens, c. 328. 378. The Visigoths' introduction of the cavalry, troops trained to fight on horseback, as part of a warfare determined European military, social, and political development for the next 1,000 years. After the Battle of Adrianople, the Visigoths moved into Italy under the leadership of their ruler, Alaric, 370 to 410, sacked Rome in 410, an event that signaled the beginning of the decline of the Roman Empire. After the success of the Visigoths, one tribe after another invaded the empire. The Visigoths continued westward into Gaul and there set up a monarchy that consisted of much of France and Spain and was centered in Toulouse. But in 507 they were driven out by the Franks, and the Visigoths withdrew into the Iberian Peninsula, present-day Spain and Portugal. Toledo was established as the capital of the Visigoth kingdom in 534. Rodrigo, the last of the Visigoth kings in Spain, was defeated and killed in 711 during a battle with the Moors, who invaded from northern Africa. The Muslims went on to rule most of the Iberian Peninsula until the mid-1400s. Who were the Vandals? Like the Goths, the Vandals were a Germanic people who originated in an area south of the Baltic Sea in what is now Scandinavia. By 100 CE, they had moved into the southern region of present-day Poland. But they eventually found themselves threatened by the Huns, and so they began moving westward late in the 4th century. Early in the 5th century, the Vandals overran Gaul in Western Europe, Spain, and northern Africa, where they eventually settled. Between 428 and 477, the Vandals were ruled by the powerful king Genseric. Under his reign, they ravaged Rome in 455. Their pillage was so thorough that the word Vandal is used to describe anyone who willfully destroys property that is not theirs. In 533 and 534, like the Ostrogoths, the Vandals were defeated by armies of the Byzantine Empire. Who was Ricard I? Ricard I, 559-601, was a Visigoth king who ruled from 586 to 601. He converted to Catholicism in 587, marking a shift in policy. Previously, many Visigoths were members of Arian Christians, a Christian faction that believed Christ to be created by and subordinate to God the Father, based on the teachings of Arius, 250 to 336. Who were the Franks? The Franks were another Germanic people who divided into two branches. The Salians, who settled near the lower Rhine River near the North Sea, and the Ripuarians, who moved into what is now Germany along the middle Rhine River. In 359, the Franks entered into the Roman Empire as allies, but in 481, Clovis, c. 466 to 511, gained the Silurian Frank kingship. By 486, he had begun a campaign of aggression in conquering Romans, Gauls, Visigoths, and other groups. Under this cruel and cunning king, the Franks soon controlled all of Europe, from the Mediterranean to the English Channel, and from the Pyrenees Mountains to the Rhine River. Even after Clovis' death, the Franks maintained their stronghold in the region, which is now France, which is how France eventually got its name. Though Clovis was a powerful ruler, he was succeeded as king of the Franks by the even more powerful Charlemagne, also called Charles the Great, 742 to 814, who ruled from 771 to 814, creating a vast empire. In 800, Pope Leo III, 750 to 816, crowned him Emperor of the West, thus initiating the Holy Roman Empire. It was after Charlemagne that the empire of the Franks began to break up, becoming the kingdoms of France, Germany, and Italy. How were the Gauls related to the Celts? The ancient Gauls were a Celtic people who spoke forms of the Celtic language. They occupied the ancient country of Gaul, a region west of the Rhine River, north of the Pyrenees Mountains, an area that today consists of France, Belgium, Luxembourg, part of Germany, and part of the Netherlands. The Gauls were led by priests who were called Druids. By 390 BCE, the Gauls had moved southward across the Alps and into Italy. In the 3rd century BCE, they battled the powerful Romans and were briefly successful. Ultimately, however, they were defeated, becoming subjects of Rome. Later, under Julius Caesar, the Romans conquered all of Gaul, so that by 50 BCE, the region became part of the Roman Empire. 5 centuries later, Gaul was overrun by the Franks, for whom the region was named. Thus, French people today are descendants of the Gauls. Also the Galatians, one of the Christian peoples to whom the Apostle Paul wrote while he was in jail, were descendants of the Gauls who settled in Macedonia in Asia Minor, the peninsula between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, which today is occupied by Turkey. Who were the Lombards? The Lombards, too, were a Germanic tribe. They are believed to have originated on an island in the Baltic Sea. In the last century BCE, the Lombards moved into Germany and gradually continued southward so that by 500 CE they were settled in present-day Austria. From 568 to the mid-700s, they controlled much of Italy, posing such a serious threat to the papal supremacy that in 754, Pope Stephen II, 757, appealed to the powerful Franks for help. By this time, the Franks were ruled by a Pepin III, called Pepin the Short, 714 to 768, who was able to defeat the Lombards. The northern region of Italy, Lombardy, is named for them. Who were the Saxons? Saxons were a Germanic people who in the 2nd century lived in southern Jutland in the area of present-day Denmark and northwestern Germany. During the next 2 centuries, the Saxons raided the coastal areas of the North Sea. By about 400, they had reached northern Gaul, the ancient country that occupied the area west and south of the Rhine River, west of the Alps, and north of the Pyrenees Mountains, roughly modern-day France, Belgium, Luxembourg, part of Germany, and part of the Netherlands. By about 450, as Roman rule was declining, the Saxons had reached England, where they merged with the Angles and began setting up Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The Anglo-Saxons dominated England until it was conquered by Danish Vikings under the leadership of Canute in 1016. Who were the Angles? The Angles were yet another Germanic tribe. They originated in Schleswig in northwestern Germany. Like other Germanic peoples, they were on the move by the 5th century. Arriving in England, the Angles joined the Saxons, also a Germanic-speaking people, after which time they together became known as Anglo-Saxons, a term referring to any non-Celtic settler of Britain.